All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this hearing panel dated 11 September 2025. I'll ask Councillor Pakipaki to start with karakia.
Ara tēnā te mihi nui kia koe manuhiri mai hara mai, me whakatau mai rā. Ana he whakatimata o tēnei tau, o tēnei rā. Te akina te rangi, te akina te hau, te akina te maunga, te akina te awa, te akina te moana, te akina te whai o te ao, te akina papātua nuku, e te turu whakamaua ki a tīna. Tīna, haume hui e, tā i ki e. Kia ora rā.
Great, thank you, and welcome to everyone in the public gallery. Not only is it great to have you here, but thank you for all coming to share your views on the different items that we have today. Just a few housekeeping matters for you. This meeting is being live streamed, so hello to those watching on YouTube. We don't have any of those on the hearing panel attending via Zoom. Maddie and April are our wonderful assistants here on the to my left, running the minutes and technology. For those who do need a cup of tea or coffee, just located there on the right-hand side. Very good. There is no apologies. We are all here as a hearing panel, and I can confirm the order of business is as set out. Do any of the hearing have any interest to declare today? Great. Oh, sorry. Yes, the hearing panel today, to my left is Councillor Hodgson, to my right is Councillor Pakipaki. He'll be here next year, and I'm Councillor Rollo and the chairperson of today's panel. All right. Moving straight on to public forum, I would like to welcome Michael Anderson to speak about the proposal on the Ridgeway. Michael, you have 5 minutes, which does include the time for questions. There will be a bell that rings with 2 minutes to go. So if you'd like us to answer questions, just make sure it's within that time frame.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Mike Anderson tōku ingoa. My name's Michael Anderson, and this is my wife Patsy Anderson. We live at 103 The Ridgeway. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your proposal to extend yellow dotted no parking lines on our side of the road from number 97 up to number 105 The Ridgeway. The issue: if there are vehicles parked on our side of the Ridgeway and to the north of us, then these severely obstruct our view of the oncoming traffic. In situations where a van or double cab ute or 2 or more vehicles are parked within the white line and up on the curb, our view of oncoming traffic is completely obscured. In this situation, we have less than 1 second to register the presence of oncoming traffic travelling at 50 to 60 kilometres an hour. Therefore, any smash is likely to be very serious, if not deadly. Additionally, on our left, when vehicles are parked on our side or on our left, the visibility of north-heading traffic is also restricted, and this too increases the risks when we drive onto the Ridgeway. The Ridgeway. Rocks Road and Waimea Road feed traffic into Nelson. The 2 biggest roads feeding into these are Hokatū Drive and Main Road Stoke, Richmond. The next 2 biggest feeder roads are Nayland Road and the Ridgeway/Suffolk Road combination. We shifted to 103 The Ridgeway 33 years ago. The joining of the Ridgeway North and the Ridgeway South, Suffolk Road, since, along with new subdivisions all along these roads on both sides, but particularly the eastern side, has meant a huge increase in the number of vehicles passing our places, and especially at the rush hours. With increased traffic, there is increased risk. Our section of the Ridgeway, this is between View Mount and 105 The Ridgeway. Dash. The Ridgeway here is narrow and constricted. This is reflected in the line markings where the space for parking on both sides is inadequate. Parked vehicles intrude onto the carriageways. Dash. Looking north from our places, the Ridgeway curves away convexly, reducing our visibility of the oncoming south travelling traffic. It means that we have to poke our vehicle noses even further out onto the Ridgeway to see the oncoming traffic. Dash. There is often excessive vegetation on the bluff adjacent to where traffic is travelling south first appears to us. This also restricts our view of the oncoming traffic. Traffic speeds on this flat and straight portion of the Ridgeway are excessive due to carburettors pumped full to get up the hill by Viewmount and at the Marsden Road end. This section should be renamed the Speedway. Additionally, an unfortunate consequence of the narrow and thoughtless application of no parking on footpaths regulation and the ticketing of offenders here has seen them park on our side of the road where there is no footpath. This just adds more vehicles to obstruct our view. In conclusion, in the letter to Councillor Mel Courtney, which I resubmitted to this committee, I refer to the situation where 2 young women were killed at the State Highway 6 and Brightwater turnoff. The reaction after this terrible event was to modify the intersection to prevent any such recurrence. There are similarities to this situation, and it is for this reason I have been proactively trying to get something done before anyone is injured or killed. It is that dangerous. Ultimately, which is more important, the loss of vehicle parks or the loss of lives. Our situation really worries me, and I can't tell you how relieved and grateful I am to see your proposal for yellow dotted no parking lines up to 105 the Ridgeway. We hope this proposal proceeds and we support it fully. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you very much. Patsy, did you want to add anything as well?
No, thanks.
Very
No.
good. Do you have any questions?
No, kia ora the Andersons. I'm welcome. I live on the Ridgeway too.
Oh, kia ora.
I know the Speedway that you're talking about. Yeah. In fact, the noise at night of some of the vehicles that are going up and down the Ridgeway are it's quite frightening there. And you guys are very much aware. So, kia ora, thank you for that.
Good.
I don't have any specific questions there.
No, Councillor Hodgson or myself have any questions, so please take from that a well thought out presentation which we could understand. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I would now like to invite Nick Lang to the table. I think we have another team coming as well, Nick. Yep, very good. And we've got your document that you presented, so thank you.
E te komiti, kia ora, kia ora koutou. I'm here, Nick Lang, also with my wife, Claire Lang. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. You'll have the A3 presentation, so any of you who are hard of sight, hopefully you can see some of the photos. Anyway, I've got 5 minutes. I'm already 4.5. There are 9 pages. There's one concept, and it's safety. It's really simple. This proposal makes absolute sense, and we're very grateful to Council for proposing this and grateful for your consideration of that. Certainly, Claire and I very much wholeheartedly support this and echo the excellent comments from Mike and Patsy, our neighbours, on this issue. So I'm just going to turn to page 2 and then we're going to race through these, somewhat like the traffic along the Ridgeway, but the key focus for us is for our tamariki. We have a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old who actively explore the neighbourhood, and we want to help them do that safely. The issue is really one of visibility for us in both crossing the road on foot and then exiting the driveway in our cars. So we've given you that picture on page 2 just to orientate where we are. I've shown the direction of exit from our angled driveway just to give you that. I won't speak further to this page, but what I can say is that the yellow lines just make sense to mitigate the safety risk on exit and crossing the road. Turning over the page, this is page 3, and you'll see photo 1. Thank you to Mike for taking this photo, which illustrates the cause of the poor visibility for us. There's definitely issues for us when there's low light or dew on windows, which even further cloud our visibility. So I just wanted to highlight that to you. If you turn further to page 4, you'll see the issue. And this is really something that we can do nothing about when we're exiting, looking left to try and obtain a clear view. It's just not possible when there are cars parked there. So hopefully that highlights the issue. That's taken from the passenger window. And if you turn over the page we're now to page 5, you can see the driver's view of that same issue. So very, very difficult to exit safely. If I move through to page 6, just to clarify the specific geography, is that the narrowness of our part of the Ridgeway, it seems quite unusual that there hasn't been yellow lining, and it's very inconsistent with other parts of the Ridgeway which are yellow lined for a significant part of the road, really from Waimea Road all the way through to our section of the Ridgeway. So our recommendation is very much, look, be consistent with the approach that's taken to other parts of the Ridgeway. If I turn over to page 7, this was a comparison of Nayland Road, for example, near Nayland School. And it was just to use the top of the south maps to highlight that's a much wider distance. And yet that has yellow lines. So it makes sense. You've done it elsewhere, and you should certainly be able to apply it in this situation. Making use of the time then, page 8 is where I'm moving to, and that just shows the yellow line approach further down the Ridgeway, further south between Songa Street and Polstead Road, where there's poor visibility, there's yellow lining. That makes absolute sense. So the last page is just coming to the nighttime view and really just amplifying that with darkened windows on a vehicle, very difficult to see, as well as place your rubbish bins out. So where we get to is I'm super grateful to council, to your officials, and I must say that the engagement with your officials has been excellent. They've been very receptive, open-minded, and wonderful to work with. And then here we are. So I urge you, on behalf of myself, Claire, and Tamariki, to support this proposal. We'll be most grateful. And thank you so much for hearing us this morning.
Thank you very much. That's an excellent presentation. Just a matter of point for those in the gallery who are hearing what page we're looking at. The tables will be uploaded within 24 hours of this meeting. Did you have any questions? James is thinking. I'm perfectly fine. That's a great presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got about 17 questions.
I'll leave you to.
I'll ask Claire, then I'll ask you. He's talked enough. Hey, one of the things, is my memory serving me right, but when the cars are parked on both sides, the line's a solid white line that's there. So it's just reminded me with some of these photos, the can't even encapsulate the width of most standard vehicles that are down there. So I just wonder how, in terms of our council's planning and the road set out with the TMP, and how it's occurred that the parking delegation of land or the roadway, the corridor, is actually smaller than what a vehicle can actually accommodate. So the question that I'd ask is, I mean, this is going to be an ongoing problem for both sides, and I know because I've had friends that have lived on both sides. Mm-hmm. Would a solution be obviously to, is it just to get rid of all of the traffic down one side of the Ridgeway itself, to then shift all of the lines to accommodate that? Is that the best solution?
It could be. Maybe that's a longer term.
That was for Claire.
It could be.
I'm just being cheeky. So I think I know the answer. I'm sort of a little bit of a rhetorical question, but I guess so that's a practical way of solving an issue, because what's going to happen, of course, is if we set precedents to something that has the same, I guess, dynamics and conditions, then we're going to then have to address a lot of others that may be on the fringe or not quite so bad as this one here. But what's the feeling on the neighbours? Have you spoken, like there's the team that's here today, but like the extent, because right down to Arapiki and then down onto Marsden, it's a horrid section of road to drive down, let alone ride your bike. If you're doing that, we tell our kids to ride on footpath.
Yes.
But what's the feeling around the neighbours around the area there?
I mean, the feeling is really between Mike and Patsy and ourselves with this discrete issue here for our part of the Ridgeway, where there's a really obvious practical solution just for that issue, and which is a safety concern. But in terms of the other side of the road, at least from our perspective, understand there's been no feedback to you. We haven't actively engaged with the neighbours across the road, and that's been quite specific. The way that the road is set up on the other side of the road means that they have good visibility because they have a footpath and a berm as they exit their driveway. So there's no same visibility challenge, whereas because we don't have a footpath on our side of the road, there's no view shaft to avail yourselves of. And so when the cars park closely, you get blocked. But look, I hear your point about a longer term solution. I think if that requires some broader thought, hey, that's fine. I think it probably doesn't need to stop this proposal from proceeding, really, because it's this very discrete safety concern, including because of the angle.
The reason why I bring that up, hope it just gives you a wee bit of clarity, is that whenever we talk about removing car parks, everyone gets upset.
Okay.
It's something that, and for not necessarily the most rational reasons whatsoever, but just the idea of losing that access.
Yes.
Even though it may not be outside their house, they may be down the road and say, it's now going to push the traffic down onto my property. So to try and find a balanced solution for the community is really, and something that's a little bit more long term, so we don't have to keep revisiting this. I think that's it's something that might even require a little bit more work. So kia ora, that's me.
Kia ora, and thank you for your presentation. It was really clear and easy to understand. I think one of the things that sits in my mind is just as Councillor Pakipaki mentioned, is that if we proceed with removing car parks in this area, it is quite likely to then shift those cars parking to another area down the Ridgeway. And I expect or anticipate that we would then get other residents saying, oh, well, you've put yellow lines here, could you also move the yellow lines down there? And that's not necessarily a bad thing if it's considered on its merits. I think my question is, we know from driver behaviour that when you have parking that narrows the roadway, it tends to encourage a slower speed environment, more conducive to neighbourhood streets. And when you remove parking or widen the roading corridor, it sends signals to people as they're driving that it's a faster space and more of a speedway, more of a commuting space. That may be what the Ridgeway needs to be. I'm really interested in your thoughts on that kind of that tension and that decision that has to be made there long term.
Of a longer term, you mean? I mean, plainly, for this proposal, very focused on safety, a very discrete, short extension is strong on its merits. I think the width of this particular road itself is probably the issue that you need to wrestle with long term, and to thinking about that as the corridor. I mean, for cyclists, for example, coming along the Ridgeway, the narrowness of that road and cars parking where the white line is so narrow that it can't even accommodate a typical car width, so cars will extend into the laneway. That itself, I guess, creates a narrowing and will potentially create a slower speed itself. I certainly wouldn't want to see a situation where there was an increasing of speed along the Ridgeway through road design. So that's I agree that will be something that needed to be thought about long term. I think the particular focus, obviously, that we've got today is just removing there's no other way to design our driveway. It cannot be redesigned. It must proceed on an angle. And the manner in which, if you are approaching your driveway in a perpendicular way rather than on an angle, then you've got a whole range more options of where you look to. And we don't have that here. So I'm not sure, Councillor Hodgson, whether that's answered your specific question.
The thoughts and reflections are helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick, just one final question for me. This has obviously hasn't just been an issue overnight. It's been going on for a wee while. When did you first approach council with you or the neighbours regarding yellow lines? Did you engage just through the submission process, or was that from a wee while ago?
Yes, and look, it's been a years-long process.
Sure.
Certainly, Mike has been very active. He may be better placed to do that for us. We first looked to engage. We actually engaged, I think, directly with James Hills, who I'd met with here, and had a series of correspondence with him, which is very helpful, very good to engage with. So that's been certainly much more than a year for me, but longer for Mike.
I would say at least 5 years. I didn't go back through the computer to look, but at least 5 years. Getting on perhaps towards 10 years. I could just see the dangers. And there have been accidents. The neighbour across the road said he'd had wing mirrors wiped off his car when he parked away from the footpath on the bit heading north.
Great. All right. No, thank you. That's most helpful. That's the end of the questions we have for you. So thank you very much for your presentation. We do have a little bit to get through, but we will have a decision in due course.
Well, Koto, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jordan.
Very good. I would now like to invite the Avon Terrace Neighbourhood Support Group. Good morning. Yes.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Co-Adrian Secker. This is Diane Homer and Christine Hands, and her husband Nigel is here. So we're all Avon Terrace residents.
Very good.
So,
You've got been a group. We've got 10 minutes, which does include questions. So
Thank you.
If you want us to answer any questions, just build that into the 10 minutes.
Thanks very much. So just to continue the one theme of yellow lines for on this occasion for access, by contrast, we're something more of a slowway than a speedway, as you'll see in a moment. But so this, I started this ball rolling with a request for yellow lines, just really primarily outside our garage, so that cars that were parked on what's a very narrow street could, if they're not there, or they are there, we physically can't get in and out of our garage with a car. I'll show you that in a moment. Council then raised the question of extending those yellow lines towards Bridge Street downstream. And we also just wanted to consider some wider issues of parking on Avon Terrace. So I'll just hand over to Diane Homer, who had 25 years as the longest resident of Avon Terrace, to talk about the character of the street.
Okay, Avon Terrace runs along the Maito River. It's one-way street. You enter it from East Hardy Street. Limited speed, narrow, and there is no footpath. And at times the river floods, and in anticipation of heavy rain and flooding, residents from this end of the street, East Hardy end, they move their cars up the street.
Which one? Is it up to this end here?
Yeah, at any time of the day or night.
It's usually the night, actually.
So
Just a similar view. You can see that at this point, parking's narrow, and you've got to get it right when you're in the drink. So what we're really after, the primary reason for coming here was to ask for access to garages in and out for affected tenants, and that's specifically Diane and myself, Diane's in a very similar situation. We do, however, not want to lose the access to what has been customary roadside parking, and we'd also like that any placing of yellow lines is specifically in consultation with the affected residents. So this is the garage that started this. When I look at this, it's actually not the best photo. What you can't really see is that our garage is down a slope, so it's quite subterranean, and it's tangentially placed to the road. So this is what led to me asking for lines just outside this garage, because we physically can't get in and out if there are cars parked there. And certainly if there's something going on like the rest home being done up, a lot of tradies will park there, other people come and park there as well. Of course, when it floods, it's trickier, and as Diane said, residents do come and park their cars up above the waterline here. So that obviously this is the worst we've seen it, but we do need to get out in a hurry sometimes. Then to the question of the general parking on Avon Terrace, and it seems that the bylaw changed in 2023 to not allowing parking on berms. And the question is, well, what is a berm? According to the definition, it seems to be a grassed area on the side of a roadway. Cultivation seems to be an important aspect of that. It's debatable whether there's any cultivation outside our place. I tend to do it with a line trimmer. It's a big stump that stops the mower from coming and doing it. And it also seems to revolve around footpaths. There isn't a footpath on Avon Terrace specifically. Most people walking there use the road. And I quote you the line from Uniquely Nelson: enforcement practices are being moderated to balance fairness with safety. And I'd come back to customary use on the subject of fairness. Do you want to speak to this?
Oh,
Diane?
so yeah. Okay, so this area, the first photo is of outside Adrian's house, and so that's where his visitors or family park. And then the second picture is outside my house, and that's where my tenants or visitors or family park. And the third picture is of my dog.
But also,
And that cone is a temporary measure. So, right, so this is me at 9 Avon Terrace, and this is my garage, which faces completely the wrong way. I guess the street became a one-way street after the garage was put there. I also have to one side of it this big concrete pole, which has got concrete cancer. The other poles on the street are all slender metal ones, so that doesn't help. And I'm just showing the second picture. This large vehicle could possibly have parked outside my garage, but we put the cone there temporarily, so it couldn't. Very difficult to get out of this garage and into it.
we've used cones too, but I've driven over ours about 3 times and wrecked it. I think Diane's asking you for a new pole as well. There were yellow lines put outside Bob and Jan's house, 2 upstream of us, and 12, number 12, yeah. And they were effective for them. They were put in very arbitrarily, and we're quite keen that whatever is put there is in consultation with us.
Yeah.
Just a couple of other residents, because there was really good consultation, thank you, from the council about this process. A couple of other residents just raised this question. This is the entry to Avon Terrace, and you can see it's narrow, there's encroaching vegetation, and people take this quite widely. There was a suggestion that maybe some lines might be appropriate there, although you don't look like you need them, do you? But people do still park there and cut up the grass.
And there is the aspect if you have a fire appliance needing to get down the street, and if a ute was parked there or a camper van, the access would be really difficult.
So that's all we have. We seem to have sneaked in inside the tent. Oh, sorry.
My husband and I are down on the lower part, where all the stuff is, and we are very, very attuned to the river, and getting out in the middle of the night in our dressing gowns and grabbing the car and driving up the road to park it on the higher part is quite important for us. Often Bridge Street is full up with the parking from Green Gables. So this is our emergency park, is around the upper end of Avon Terrace. So what we want is we want those two to have the yellow lines outside their place because otherwise they can't get out easily and it could be dangerous for them. And we recognise that, just as it was out of Bob's place and Jan's place for them to get out. But we don't want any more parking taken than needed. We don't want some bloke getting out there with his yellow brush and saying, oh, while I'm here, I'll just nip up the road. Because that's what happened with Bob and Jan. And Bob said to me a couple of days ago, listen, they put it far further up the road than we wanted. You can tell them to take two dots off. I said, I will. So what I am just saying is we're all together. The neighbourhood is all together. What we all want is we want just parking outside no parking outside their place, and please don't take any more.
Yeah. And for my garage, I think only like no parking line for about a vehicle length.
Yeah, just one vehicle, just to get out. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hodgson, have you got any questions? No. Councillor Pakipaki.
All right, I got questions.
Okay.
The people that are using this place to park, I won't even call it parking spaces. Are they residents or are they visitors?
Residents.
A resident?
Both, actually. Yeah.
You're talking about 5. You're talking about lower, where we all park.
Yes.
Yes. The lower area is 5 people. They're all residents. There are some flats in the back, and there's me as well. So my husband parks in our garage. So yeah, these are people who park there all the time. 5 cars all the time, and very occasionally you get one of the politics students recently in a big black ute, and he's the one who's making the muck up there. Because I think the politics short of parking at the moment.
I think the whole city is short of parking.
The other thing is the parking. Parking is quite seasonal. In summer, we tend to get
Must be reading my
camper
mind.
vans going along there. And we've had like over the years, there was Green Gables being constructed.
Yes.
Adrian had the big renovation, which went on for a long time. So you can get a lot of tradies.
I think that's going to continue, of
Occasionally.
course, as the city develops and things move forward. I was just looking at the early surveys in the 1870s of Nelson, and of course, this is one of the earlier roads that were the city has been built around, and installed in the days where the horses and carts were the only problem. And of course, the houses haven't moved; none of the lots have moved. The river stayed where it is, and but we're bigger cars and need more use of our space. So I was going to ask about, is it seasonal, but also night and day? What's the difference between night and day parking? Is it worse at night when because I would assume it's residents.
Lot more. There's the 5 cars, bang, 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 bang at night. Okay. During the day, people disperse to work or running around the place, so you might only see 3 cars or 2 cars or something.
Has there been any discussion with those residents who have those, because they're going to be obviously affected by this? Has there been discussion around where they're going to now park if they can't park there?
I don't think.
No thought of putting yellow lines down there.
No, I think
None
that
whatsoever.
the 2 halves of the street are quite different. So there's no berm as such. In that, I can go back actually. If you look,
So it's adjacent, directly
that's
adjacent.
a lower
that
part.
zone there, I mean, that's not a berm. That's a legitimate place to park.
Yep.
The question it pertains about the legitimacy of parking pertains more to here.
Yeah, right.
You can park a car off the street without having wheels on the grass. They're in the gravel.
Well, there
down the
could be
centre.
grass if people weren't parking there.
Well, there is gravel actually.
Make it a berm.
Yeah, well,
Then
you haven't
we have
really
seen
made a berm outside my house. Yeah, as I say, it's just weeds and a tree stump. So, but I mean, as I say, there is an element of customary practice here as well.
All right. Well, I've got a bunch of questions I'll probably ask the officers of council as we move on. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've just got one from Councillor Hodgson.
Sorry, I do have a question. I'm just looking at 2 different pictures that we have in our council agenda. I'm not sure if you would be able to see them. I'm not sure if you have seen them.
This is option 1 and 2.
Exactly.
Yep.
So option 1 has the yellow lines just outside numbers 11 and 10. option 2 extends them right to in front of number 9.
Towards Sussex House, yeah.
Yes. So are you saying that everyone that you've spoken to is supportive of outside 10 and 11, but not outside of number 9? Is that correct?
Correct. And hopefully you've had some responses to the mail drop as well. I've responded to that, I know, and I think everyone else here has.
We'll check in with our officers.
Yeah, so just to be clear, so we're happy with proposal option
Option 1,
1,
but it doesn't.
But,
yellow lines for your.
yeah, also having a very short yellow dotted line just outside my garage.
What I would like as a person who has to run up there in my dressing gown in the middle of the night when it's raining, is what I would really like to see is nothing happens like happened with Bob, where a guy gets out with his yellow brush and he goes another couple up the road. So I would like to see that when it is done, that these two people are there and actually see that the guy puts the lines where the residents want them. Not
The good thing we have at this council is we've got some very good traffic engineers and staff, and that's their responsibility to do, not us as the hearing panel. But we will make sure that whatever decision we make, that the traffic engineers do look fully into that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. All right, and would now like to invite Peter along, who would like to talk about Rutherford Street and Examiner Street. Welcome, Peter. We're aware you were here not so long ago, so I'm sure you're aware of how it all works around here.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks to the hearing committee for me to come along and speak to this issue again. I'd like to also welcome quite a few of my fellow residents here in the audience to come in here and see how
Do you want any of them to join you?
No, I'm thinking I'm okay. My wife might try to kick me a few times, but never mind. I'm a little bit surprised to be here, to be honest, because I raised this issue back in April. People exiting Elm Street, Examiner Street, onto Rutherford Street, which I have to say is one of the busiest roads in Nelson, Rutherford Street coming into Nelson. We can't see. We can't see getting out of our road. And that's what I raised with staff via NTNO, because I thought that's the appropriate way, because I was surprised to see a car park suddenly appear there outside the car yard. And it appeared because council did some changes there. They put a bus stop in, and suddenly, hey presto, our yellow lines disappeared and there was a car park there. And I thought, how did that happen? I was actually away at the time. I think it might have been overseas. And it got harder and harder. So around the barbecue in the street, everybody said, well, Pete, you kind of know what you're talking about. Why don't you go in and speak to council? For my sins, I am a professional traffic engineer, chartered engineer, work in transportation, and I'm also a member of the transportation group of New Zealand National Committee. So I think I kind of know what I'm talking about in this matter. So essentially, when I dug into it, I found out that council put a bus stop in there, and to appease the car yard who got upset because they lost all their car parking, they put additional car park in over the yellow lines and got rid of our visibility. Council has standards. It has a requirement in its land development manual and also in the New Zealand Austroads Guide for visibility of providing visibility at side roads. And that is between around about 90 to 120 metres for visibility for a car exiting. Remember, this intersection has about 22,000 odd vehicles and cyclists that go through it every day. And so it is a very busy intersection. So I urge you that the matter you actually have got in front of you is actually approve all that car parking. Because to my surprise, I found out that the layout there wasn't actually approved. That car park wasn't approved to be there. The yellow lines weren't approved to be removed. So I'm not worried about the rest of Rutherford Street. All I ask is that single car park, which is shown, I think, on page 21 of your report on the plan, outside the car yard, simply gets taken away. That's all we're asking, to be safe. Now, I was a bit surprised also to read in the council report, and I've written a few of these in my time because I did used to work here at council, that there is, on clause 57, you have a little clause there that says risks and disadvantages of approving this layout. And to my surprise, they say none. Well, I would contest that quite strongly because I feel I'm a risk. My wife's a risk. And so are my fellow residents over here a risk every day we go to get out of that side road where we don't have the requirement of the visibility to be able to see safe to get out of there. There has actually been 7 crashes at that intersection. 7. 3 of those have been injury. And 1 was in 2025 after that car park was put in there. So it is a dangerous intersection. And I would argue there are disadvantages and risks, namely being myself, my family, and my fellow residents. But more so, I'd actually like to say that I've lived in Mount Street for 27 years, so I think I kind of know that intersection pretty well. And it has been getting harder and harder and more dangerous to get out of that side road. So again, what I'd like to urge you very much, please, is just approve the layout there, but if you can, please move the eye. And I would like to add that that car yard, when it got a resource consent granted to it, actually had a requirement to provide staff parking. It had a requirement to provide business parking for its customers. And I doubt very much that somebody drives down Rutherford Street and glances across and sees a $10,000 car sitting in that car and goes, oh, I'm just going to nip into that car park and go and buy a $10,000 car. That's not how car yards work. So it's not needed. So I urge you, for the 200 plus residents that live up there, to make it safe for them and remove that single car park. Thank you very much. I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Councillor Pakipaki, have you got any questions?
No, I'm just looking at Google Earth and it seems like that was prior.
If you look on, it's actually, I found it when I was preparing my previous presentations. I had a PowerPoint presentation. If you look on, I think of it, top of the South Maps, and you open up the aerial view of that, you'll see there was no stopping lines there. And if you look at it now, there is the car park.
Yeah, I popped down there this morning just to go and have a quick look, and what I saw wasn't the same as what has been updated on that. Just have a look at top of the South Maps now.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very you have any questions? Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much. Cheers. Bye.
Very good. All right, and that brings to the end of public forum. All right, we'll move on now with the meeting, and we've got the minutes there of the meeting July 31, and Councillor Hodgson, you were a part of that meeting. Just wondering if you'd be happy to move that.
Happy to move.
James is happy to move. I'm happy to second it. Are you okay, Kahu? Yep, very good. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. All right, we'd now like to welcome our officers, Officer Persico and it says Lavertis, but I think we've got Officer Hammond coming to join us to talk about some temporary road closures. Well, welcome, team. We're in your safe, capable hands. How you would like to guide us through this part of the report?
And just quickly, thank you to those people who have come down. Hope you have a good day.
We'll try to be finished within 2 hours for those that are still here in the gallery. Thank you. Morning, team.
Morning, Chairperson and councillors. The report before you outlines 4 applications for temporary road closures to enable public functions and events. Officers have worked with NZTA, Waka Kotahi and police to ensure that any potential disruption from the proposed mask carnival and the Santa Parade closures is not worsened by other project work at St Vincent Street and Bridge to Better, as to not reasonably impede traffic. It is noted in the report that there may be some disruption to the network, however, it is limited in duration and will be well advertised in advance. The Christmas and New Year's events are during the city centre brownout period and will not be affected to the same extent. No public feedback was received for any of the proposed closures. This is not unusual for annual events as businesses and residents know what to expect from previous years. The report is taken as read and we welcome questions.
Thank you very much for that presentation. The only question I have is obviously there is a lot of work going on in the town at the moment. when it comes to this Christmas time period, and we are expecting further delays in terms of some of that, the infrastructure on the roads won't be happening over the weekends. Is there any ways we can work with the contractors to mitigate any potential delays? I note that we often end up with road cones and people get upset by those, but is there any way that we can, if there is no work underway over those weekends, minimise the amount of cones or disruption that will be on in those specific areas?
Through the chair, Nelson, in the CBD, we operate a brownout period. So that's a period over that Christmas vacation period where we don't allow roadworks in the CBD. So two of the events that Jen has mentioned will occur during the period where there won't be roadworks going on. So the bigger projects that are underway have a whole period where they don't do work and they minimise the impact on the city. Two of them do occur while those roadworks are still there, and we're working with them to try and minimise those impacts.
Through the chair, it's worth noting that the Mask Carnival are working with the contractors on Bridge Street, and they will utilise part of their existing road closure where it is safe to put pedestrians where the road will already be closed.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Has there been any chat about, is the spectacle going to run again this year?
Through the chair, that application was approved in the last hearings panel.
Oh, I'm glad you're.
I was wondering, I was like, what's going on with it? Anyway, complete.
I'm glad you approved them, and it's just 5 minutes ago.
You seconded that.
Yes, very good. All right. No questions?
No questions.
Very good. Very good report. Thank you, team. I'm happy to move the temporary road closures 1 to 4 with Councillor Hodgson's happy to second. I don't believe there's any need to debate these items, apart from it's always good to see events happening in the CBD, and it's also good to show that the consultation had no feedback. It shows that the team have done an excellent job yet again on that, so well done. If anyone else wants to talk, no, very good. We'll take that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Very good. All right, and we'll now move on to the traffic and parking bylaws, and I'll let you stay where you are, and we'll take your report as you'd like.
Morena again, Chairperson and Councillors. The proposed changes in the report before you today are a variety of minor safety improvements, project work, new subdivision development, and a retrospective amendment. Officers will take the report as read, but we'd also like to offer the following update. The Ridgeway proposed no stopping. As the report details, officer recommendation is to install parking bays as opposed to no stopping lines and address the entirety of the section of the Ridgeway as and when it's scheduled for maintenance. Avon Terrace proposed no stopping. Initial feedback received from Avon Terrace residents indicated all respondents generally supported the initial proposal of extending the current no stopping. Responses included multiple requests to extend the lines further again, as well as a request to remove any redundant no stopping. As clause 37 of the Traffic and Parking Bylaw 2023 prohibits parking on cultivated areas and areas not designed for parking, which includes the berm, majority of Avon Terrace is not suitable for parking as the shoulder is not wide enough to accommodate a vehicle. Avon Terrace is often heavily parked by residents, their visitors, and some all-day parkers. Officers sought resident feedback on a second option to extend proposed no stopping further towards Bridge Street to allow additional residents safer and more efficient access to their properties. This proposal received 8 responses in total. 5 were in support of option 2, the extended proposal, and 3 were in support of option 1, the original proposal to retain what is perceived as on-street parking. Residents not in support would prefer parking to be retained, as when the Maitai River rises, as they move their cars to where the extended no stopping is proposed. As parking is already prohibited on the berm, it is likely regulatory will ticket vehicles parked on the berm, as warning tickets have already been issued, and this is applicable to all vehicles parked on the berm of Avon Terrace. Wakatu Square EV charges. Officers would like to amend their recommendation to support option 2. Additional feedback has been received and supports option 2 to install 4 EV chargers across 5 car parks to allow unimpeded access to footpaths. Officers sought specific feedback from accessibility groups and have not had a response to date. Rutherford Street, no stopping removal. Officers are seeking retrospective approval to revoke no stopping restrictions from the bylaw to accurately reflect the layout that was previously approved by the hearings panel and has been operational on Rutherford Street since 2022. Legally, cars cannot park within 6 metres of an intersection as to preserve sightlines. This car park is 10 metres from the intersection, and officers are satisfied that it is sufficient and consistent with other intersections on the network. Officer recommendation is to revoke the existing no stopping to allow for parking, as was shown in the consultation material. If the hearing panel do not support the removal of the no stopping restrictions, officers recommend seeking further public consultation as no recent feedback has been sought from other affected and/or interested parties as required by the hearings panel process. We now welcome questions.
But I think the best way to go through it, because I'm aware from our public feedback or public hearings that we do have some questions. I think if we go through item by item, start with the Ridgeway, and then we can make our way down if officers are comfortable with that. Very good. So we'll start with the issue of the Ridgeway, and Councillor Pakipaki, do you have some questions you'd like to kick us off with?
I think so. The first one is, like you mentioned, that the attending to parking bays could be accommodated in the next maintenance, when that next maintenance schedule comes up. When is the Ridgeway scheduled for maintenance? Because it seems like it's had quite a bit of work done to it in the last couple of years at least.
So through the chair, we would put the parking ticks down now, but if we were to do a more extensive upgrade of the entire length, which is our preferred approach, then we would coincide that with the next remarking of the Ridgeway, and that would be in the medium term. It won't be right away. So we would mark the bays in the short term, because that would be just adding some additional marking. But if we're looking at redoing the whole lane layout and those sorts of things through that entire length, then we would look at doing that as part of a real estate program.
What sort of time frame are you talking about?
I think that's
because are you talking long-term plan stuff or
longer term plan? Yes. Yeah. Right. So probably beyond, certainly not this calendar year, and yeah, we're not sure where.
I'm just thinking of the Langs, their kids, the age of their kids at the moment. Their concern is that there's an immediate safety risk.
Yeah.
That they're concerned about. Their kids will probably be left home by the time that this is actually even addressed. So we need to find some level of solution. And with the spacing of the allowance for the parking corridor, is that compliant? Because I know I've been involved in subdivisions and building a lot of things and like this sort of things, and the prescription that's required for new works subdivisions is quite strict, and you can quite clearly see that the space that's allowed there, that most of the cars, even the small ones, their full wheel is on the actual road corridor rather than the parking corridor itself.
Yeah, so I think through the chair, that's the biggest issue with our road network is if we were designing that road now, it would be much wider than what's been there.
So the parking itself, the parking lines that have been put down there have been done quite recently.
So what we have there is lane lines. So that's defining the traffic lane, and that's providing guidance for vehicles. It's not a parking line in that sense.
So what I would suggest then is that the intrusion of the parking of the road corridor itself is intrusion on what's indicated as a parking space. So therefore, the two of them are not compatible with each other.
Yeah, there's no prohibition of parking into a lane in that sense. If we hadn't put a lane line there, then those vehicles and through traffic would just coexist. Putting that
edge line there provides guidance. It doesn't, and it does give some delineation, but it doesn't naturally assume that there's room to park inside or beyond that
I think it naturally does assume that there is room to park if there is a.
No.
To the user, you may be able to say that we've got a technicality there, but my question is that how are we going to solve a problem that is by interpretation for the user a reasonably simple matter in that there's parking there and this is where we drive our cars and the two of them overlap.
Yeah, and I think that's a balance of providing that that left side delineation of the carriageway versus providing the space that's there.
Yeah, because
we don't, on a lot of our roads on our network, we don't have space to the left of that line to park vehicles, but actually we allow vehicles to park there. We pick up the value that we get from the delineation that line provides drivers.
Who's we? Because it doesn't sound like the users, and I'm a user of that road corridor, doesn't sound like we, the users, are able to have the same interpretation that you are.
Well, through the chair, I think you'd get the benefit of having that line there as you drive down there.
The benefit? What benefit is that?
It provides the delineation of the line.
Okay, so when there is a space for cars that this is becoming quite circular, really.
Yeah.
And the argument doesn't really hold in terms of because we've got an overlap there, we're allowing people to park. We're also suggesting this is the road corridor. The two, they're not compatible with each other. So to find a solution that's not in the long-term plan, that's down the, before the Lang's kids are even, still they could be 18, 19 and even gone from that space. I need to find quite a practical solution for us to address it. And if it needs to be brought to full council, that's probably what I'm going to recommend following this. I'm happy with the recommendation as it sits because I understand that the matter is quite complicated. But would it be able to be resolved by a full assessment and then essentially brought to council? It might be something that can be advanced in the maintenance schedule.
So, yeah, so there's a number of options. So what we're suggesting is by putting some parking ticks there to indicate where a vehicle could park, that encourages vehicles to park further from the driveway than they are. That reinforces the requirement to provide that meter spacing from the driveway. Now, in the short term, if you don't consider that provides, and then we would look at a longer term solution of the issues along that entire stretch. If you don't feel that provides sufficient protection in this specific location, then the option we consulted on was to add the no parking in. And that's an option that this committee can pick up and choose. If you were to go that way, we would still look longer term on how the layout of that overall looks. So really, I think the question is, what do you feel is the adequate short-term solution? Whether you think the parking ticks to define more the placement of the car, not the direction against the curb, is sufficient, or we should get rid of that parking altogether.
And in your opinion, I think Councillor Hodgson brought up a good point in terms of that space could become, a raceway if it's not quite slowed down. I get that, but I mean the lesser of two evils. Where we're trying to do less harm. What, in your opinion, what would be the best way to approach that?
Well, our advice was to try and manage the parking through marking of the parking spaces to pull them away from the driveway.
Is that your opinion or the advice that you've just received? So I asked, what's your opinion?
That's our advice.
So yeah, the advice to us. That's advice that you have been received or that you've received. Okay.
Councillor Hodgson.
Could you just walk me through the difference between the yellow lines and the parking ticks and what those would look like and kind of the legality of if people were still to park closer to the driveways with those in place?
Yeah, so through the chair, the no stopping lines would be continuous and would remove all parking from that side through that area, and the lines would occur on we wouldn't mark no stopping lines across driveways, but in the area through there, as shown on the proposal, we would put that in. The parking ticks are really a non-regulatory. It simply reinforces the driver requirement of not parking within a metre of the driveway. And in instances where we've put those in as guidance, we've put them in further than the metre to encourage vehicles to park further away. But there's no regulatory enforceability of those lines other than where those lines align with the you can't park within a metre of a driveway, and then that general provision takes place.
Has that been socialised with the residents as an alternative to the yellow no stopping lines, and has there been a response to that?
That hasn't been. The proposal that went to residents was the no stopping, and because the feedback that we got back from that was broadly in support, but with a couple that were against the loss of parking, this is the conclusion we came to, is that this is a first step towards trying to achieve that balance.
Yeah, can I just ask a sup on that? I couldn't quite see in the report, and it might be the fact that I've read word for word and then skimmed over it again. Was there a number of submissions we actually received on this matter on the Bridgeway? I couldn't see a number. Might be my fault, sorry. The A3 of the public submission was helpful. I don't have my glasses here. No stress if you don't have it at the moment.
Through the chair, we've received 9 responses.
9 responses, great, thank you. And I think Councillor Hodgson would like
Yeah, so seven were in support, and 2 were not in support. The support included the visibility and the whereas the not support were due to the fact that it was a flat section of the Ridgeway and prohibiting parking would move it to other locations.
Okay, and excuse me, we will come back to Councillor Hodgson. Those that did support, were they also those that wanted parking across the road, or were they support of yellow lines along the way?
They were supportive of the yellow lines.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hodgson?
Does the Ridgeway factor in at all to the Nelson Future Access project? Is it part of that broader consideration, or is it very separate off to the side?
Through the chair, I can't. It is a main route in Nelson. It is a high volume road. We've got some limitations as to the volumes of traffic we can put down there, but it is a key component of the Nelson network.
Do you know how it's classified in the One Network?
Not off the top of my head, but I imagine it's a collector road in that network. Yes.
Okay, and I think drilling down on Councillor Paki's questions, in an ideal world, in terms of prioritisation for that, it seems to me like a big picture look at the Ridgeway is quite important. In an ideal world, where might that be programmed? I know we plan out 30 years in the infrastructure strategy. Is it within the scope of the next 10 years of the long-term plan? Is it in that kind of 10 to 20, 20 to 30? Like where would we likely see it fall, and where would we see it fall in an ideal world?
Well, I think it would need to be in the short term, given the growth and use of the Ridgeway. Yeah, it is a key component of our network.
I'm actually pleased to hear that. That's all I wanted to hear. Couple.
We just give us a moment. I think we'll just come together as a panel and then we'll come on to item 2. So just give us 30 seconds. just adjourn, sorry, for a couple of minutes. Right, we're back on. Sorry to advise officers. When I say we'll take it in part, we'll take questions in part, and then we'll just move the whole thing in its entire form if you're comfortable with that. All right, we'll move on to number 2, which is the prohibited parking on Avon Terrace. Were there any questions on that item?
Yes.
Councillor Hodgson?
Is there any damage taking place, or any meaningful or substantial damage taking place to the berm further up towards Bridge Street?
So through the chair, there was mention of gravel and that sort of thing on the berm, and that's, I think, in part because we've had vehicles driving on it. So if we look at the context of how the bylaw is written, that's not an area that is designed for parking. So the lower half of the street, where we saw the photos, it was quite clear that there was gravel and seal that was quite wide through there. At the top end, it is quite narrow, and it is reverted to gravel, or it has had gravel put down on it, that I don't think it's ever been designed to be parked on. So in the context of our bylaw.
Question of clarification, sorry. I guess this is probably for Councillor Hodgson. Are you referring to the parts indicated on the maps and with the yellow lines, or the extension of that's not, or the whole lot, just the yellow lines?
The extended yellow lines.
Okay.
The only question I had was, we did have the item there requested, I guess, in public forum for a half line. Now, I'm no expert in this field, but I assume a half line isn't something we do. It's simply a full line or nothing. Is that correct?
Through the chair, yes. I think the suggestion was that we didn't, for option 2, where we've extended the line down, I think my interpretation of the request was that actually we just do a short section outside that garage. So there is instead of continuing through as we've shown in option 2, that there's just a short length added outside the garage. I think that was my interpretation of the comments that were made.
And obviously, I'm sorry to get into the nitty gritty. When you hear stuff, it's on the top of your head. But the idea of the power pole, that's not our field of expertise, is it? I assume that's with the electrical company. What power lines we put where?
I think that's a reasonable assumption, Chair.
All right, I'll go with one. There we go. So the residents indicated option 1 was their preference at this stage. The extension into option 2, like if option 1 is not sufficient, what's the recourse? Can they come back and potentially, like, maybe the neighbours down the street see what's happened, and then they come down and say, well, hey, look, can we extend that? Is that an option later?
So through the chair, that's essentially what's happened in this process. We put forward option 1, and during the feedback of option 1, someone came back and said, can we have those lines also outside the driveway of 9, which is where that's been extended to in.
Were those residents here this morning for 9?
Yes,
they were.
I think the woman who spoke and said, and can we add in my driveway?
Oh, okay.
I think.
Why did they say option 1 then? Because I've noted it down.
And I think if you look at the diagram for option 2, you see that we've extended it beyond what we had in option 1, driveway outside 10, right through to the driveway outside 9. So I think my interpretation of what they were saying was, can we have it outside 9, but not as an extension, but as a separate series of lines? So they would be able to park in the no stopping in the area between 10 and 9, but those two garages would have no stopping outside the garages.
So I guess, sorry, just to extend on that, then that means what we're doing here is we're basically, it's addressing the issue of them being able to get access in and out of their driveways. What driveways have we got without Google Earthing it? I'm going to Google Earth it anyway.
So the initial proposal was to address the concern at 10, which is the extension shown in page 37 of the report, and that top picture. And then as part of the discussion, the garage outside 9.
Okay, I'm just having a look on, I was actually looking at the road view on Google Maps, and there is no other driveways in between that area. So I guess the recommendation would then, I'd probably want to be clear that if we were to put some to allow them egress in and out of their driveways, what was the other component that we should be considering in terms of the damage to the berm? Is that a matter of consideration at this stage? How should we deal with that? Like, so, if it was a sections just outside.
So through the chair, we have a bylaw that prohibits parking on the berm, but that bylaw has a mechanism whereby we can provide exceptions to that.
We have discretion of enforcement,
and there's a separate. There's not discretions in the enforcement, but there's a mechanism that enables people to provide it with a permit to park on the berm.
Oh, okay.
So we do have a mechanism there that potentially could be employed in this situation.
How many other locations around the city, if you'll indulge me, Mr. Chair, that we have this permit application process, or the
we haven't issued any permits yet, but we're in discussions on whether we do that in the Manako area. Because
of course,
that's quite a unique sort of
fuzzy zone
area.
Yeah. Okay, couple. So we don't actually have any permits currently active.
No, but we are looking at how we go through that process.
And if we were to implement that or made that available for our residents down there, what sort of timeframes do you think would be in effect?
That's probably a process of months. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's achievable in what I would consider the short term, and that we've got a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some we can discuss this aspect with our parking enforcement in the meantime. We understand they have been issuing some warnings around parking on the berm, so that's an approach we can continue.
Very good. And just a point of clarification from me, officers, are you still comfortable with recommending option 2 as the proposed recommendation for Avon Terrace?
So through the chair, there, we could amend option 2 to just limit the, so it's the northern end of that was marked as opposed to the entire length. So we would just do that in 2 lots rather than one long extension.
Okay. And are you comfortable that the recommendation we have here gives you enough leeway to do that, or would you like us to look at an amendment there for you?
Specifics. Yeah. I think in terms of review of this hearing panel, anyone that they weren't able to actually have that noted somewhere, so we definitely need a note, an amendment for option 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that if it is reviewed, then we've got a transparent pathway.
But that doesn't concern you, an option, I guess, like a 1.5 that has the chunk and then a little gap and then another chunk?
I think that we can make that work, yes.
Very good. Let's just take a quick adjournment yet again, just to get some wording on that item, and then we'll be back. All right, sorry about that. We're back on. Just in the break there, officers, we don't have any questions on the prohibited parking on Cumberland Crescent or any questions on Atkinson Street, but we do have on Wakatu Car Park, and Councillor Hodgson will kick us off with those.
Oh, I guess I was firstly just hoping you could run us through the shift from what was initially proposed in option A. I'm going to get my head right. I think from the original option, probably A, to B, the tweaks there.
So through the chair, while this was out for consultation, we sought specific consultation with disability access groups. We felt it was important, given the potential to block the footpath, to discuss with these groups. So we've gone out to them, but we haven't heard back from them. So that was our pause was around that aspect. In the context of the car park, the footpath between the two parking bays is relatively narrow anyway. You do get a number of vehicles sort of overhanging. There are a number of obstructions through there at the moment. So we felt that actually we didn't know how much use that would get as an access way anyway. There are better routes around, and disability car parks are by a pedestrian crossing, which puts you back onto the main footpath. However, given we hadn't heard, we thought it was prudent to recommend the 5-space option. And if those disability groups come back and say it's no longer an issue, then we can amend this in the future. But this enables us to continue working in the meantime and to continue to do that work with the supplier. They've indicated that there will be a bit of time before they're actually doing the work on site. So we have time to work through that with them. But rather than delay, understanding that we're unlikely to have a hearings panel for a period of time, we felt this was the prudent approach.
Thank you. Just on the, hang on. Not sure what's going on beside me, sorry. On the Rutherford Street site, item number 7 there, can you just run us through the, it's obviously a wee bit of a long-standing issue. So currently we have got a car parking space there, and the staff are proposing, or officers, shall I say, are proposing to keep that car parking space there. It was obviously noted in the public forum that it seemed to be that it was requested by the car parking, like a car business. Can you just, I think it's fair for the staff to, in a public meeting, confirm, that's probably not the case, but it's good to hear your point of view as the officers of the council.
Yes, so through the chair, we've put this forward as addressing what we considered to be an omission when the original work was done at this site. So in 2022, there was significant work done through that area. As a part of that work, which I understand was pipe work, so it was below ground, they took the opportunity to relocate a bus stop, to shift quite an amount of general parking, and to relocate a pedestrian crossing. So that was quite an extensive project, and that was completed towards the end of the year. The roading was remarked as per the plan for that project, and in the following year, there was a hearings panel which went through and put the no stopping lines through the area, added those in, added the bus stop, added the changes around the pedestrian crossing. So it went in and added all the aspects in, but in that report it didn't say, and we want to swap an area that was no parking and make it parking. So while it added all the other components in, we think it omitted the removal of the parking, because that parking spot had been marked up as a part of the plan that was shown for this project, and that's the plan that was in the hearings panel report. You can see the pedestrian crossing went in, the bus stops went in, so it was reasonably extensive. I understand that there was consultation at the time around balancing the loss of car parking. So there was parking right across in front of, through that area, that was removed and replaced by the bus stop. And in balance, there was an additional park put in there, and there was an additional park added up the road to sort of balance it overall. So we consider that was all looked at the time. That was the solution that was put in place. When it was raised at the last hearings panel, we checked into the car park and couldn't find that removal of the no stopping for the car park to go in our records. So that's not to say it may not have occurred, it's just that we haven't been able to find it in the records. So we consider this to be addressing that omission at the time. And officers looking at the site itself, it is challenging to get out of that side street, but it's no worse than any other. If that car park is not occupied, because you've now got no stopping behind it and you've got a bus stop there, which is only occasionally occupied, I think overall you've probably got a better sight line there than you've had previously. So this remit was very much about addressing that omission. If we were to look at marking that as no parking now, we think it's inappropriate that actually, rather than just hearing from one group, we would need to seek feedback from that wider area and go through our standard hearings panel process, rather than not address the omission and remove the car park now. So we're seeking that direction. Ideally, we would like the omission addressed, and then seek direction from the hearing panel on the broader issue of potentially asking us to look at that aspect in its totality, taking it through the proper process rather than taking advantage of an omission.
Thank you. Councillor Hodgson has a question.
So when the initial consultation took place, just to get my head completely clear, was that parking space included in what was initially consulted on previously? And then when the hearings panel approved the changes and that one piece was omitted, was it still kind of, they would have been presented with maps, I think similar to what we have in our papers. Was that parking space noted in those maps that the hearings panel would have considered, or has it come about later?
So the picture you've got is the picture, I understand, that went out for consultation. And while it's not noted an additional car park added in, those markings were shown on so unfortunately it's something that happened a number of years ago, and it was prior to us recording these hearing panel meetings. So the information we've got is we're working off the historical information that was provided at the time.
In the presentation that we had from a member of the public, they mentioned the land development manual and that this might be inconsistent with it, but then we heard from you that the limit is I'm putting it simply, but 6 meters and this is 10 meters. Can you just help me understand? Is it consistent with kind of our regulations that we work to?
So the reference to 6 meters is that the road code and the way the road rules are developed prohibit you marking parking within 6 meters of an intersection. So that's a general application that is applied to provide at every intersection a degree of buffer to allow for sight lines. Now the sight triangles and those sorts of things are calculated a number of different ways. They consider volumes and those sorts of things, and we think it's okay. It meets those requirements at those sites. Yeah.
Thank you. We have no further questions on that matter. I just clarify. No, that's all very good. All right, we thank the officers for their very detailed report. Sorry for having to bear with us on those matters, but we do appreciate the work that you've done, so thank you. And do take note from the public forum as well, the excellent public consultation that it's done. It was highlighted by many of the submitters, so thank you. All right, well, I'm happy as your chair to move all of these items, including the amendments, and just wonder if someone would like to second that.
Happy to, unless.
I can second that. Here you go.
Councillor Hodgson will second that.
Yep.
All right. I guess to kick off debate, we don't really need it, but I think that we can take there from the public forum that the real need to put safety and accessibility at the forefront of everything we do. The Ridgeway is clearly a road that politically or in the nature of how we're building our town will require more work, and we look forward to seeing what the officers come back with on that, and all the other items all seem very straightforward. I'm not the only chairperson who debates, you better say something. All right, all those in favour of those items, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. All right, we now welcome Susan Matheson and not Nikki Harrison, but Rebecca to the table to discuss the easements of the Recreation Reserve Te Hunanui. Yeah, that's it. Welcome, team. We're in your safe hands. Sorry to keep you waiting for so long, but we look forward to hearing what you have to say. Maybe just use your mic, sorry. Yep.
Thank you. Thanks. Morena, Chair, Councillors and GAs. Thank you. My report today is one of 3 of easements that we have over reserves, which is quite an issue that we have to deal with from time to time. So we've got 3 in a row. This particular one is for a power upgrade at Tahuna Beach. So I take it that the report has been read, and if you have any questions, thank you.
I'm going to take from the leader's chair that we have no questions, and I will ask if Councillor Hodgson would like to move it.
I'm happy to move. We're just missing
Cool. Just bear with us. Councillor Pakipaki, do you have any questions? Councillor Pakipaki, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Okay, cool. I'm happy to second that. All those in favour of this recommendation, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. All right, thank you.
Yeah, that was a pretty straightforward one. I thought I'd try and take my break then.
And we will also, we'll just move straight on to Westley Terrace.
Thank you. Yes, so that's obviously a second easement over a reserve, and that's for fibre optic cabling to go through to the weighbridge at York Valley landfill site. So that's quite an urgent one that they need to get that underway. So take it that report's been read, and if there are any questions, thank you.
No, would someone like to move that?
I can do that.
Happy second.
Cool. Moved by Councillor Pakipaki, seconded by Councillor Hodgson. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, carried. All right, and we'll just quickly take a few minutes. Oh, sorry, I have to make a recommendation that we exclude the public from the following parts of the proceedings as set out on the recommendations. I'm happy to move. Councillor Pakipaki is willing to second.
Does it have the access to that?
Okay, all right. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Against, carried. And I guess we should just take a couple of minutes to put ourselves into public excluded.
Did we